Screen sharing. Okay. All right, we're recording. So welcome everyone. Super excited for tonight's Tech Talk by Aisha Blake from New Relic. I admit, even having been a web developer for 23 years and being an engineering manager at SaaS companies and things, I kind of know what I know at a high level kind of what observability is, but I'd be a little bit, I'd be hard pressed to kind of give a real definition for it. So I'll turn over to Aisha in a second. Just want to say that this Tech Talk is sponsored by the Collab Lab, and the Collab Lab is a US-based nonprofit that helps early career developers get jobs, especially people from underrepresented groups. And the way we do that is by helping developers who maybe they've been through a boot camp or they've been self-studying, get them on teams working together and to learn how software teams work, how professional software teams work. So we put people on teams of 4, they have mentors, they work for 8 weeks on a project under the guidance of professional web developers and engineering managers, and learn all the like pair programming and how to do a code review, and you demo and you retro, you're talking about the tech for 8 weeks when you may have just been watching YouTube videos for the last 6 months or something. So it's a great way to just kind of get a little bit more confidence in going into technical interviews and that kind of thing. So that's kind of what we do. So like I said, Aisha works at New Relic and as a senior developer relations advocate, or I don't know exactly what your title is, but DevRel. And so I'll turn it over to you. You should be a host, so I'll stop sharing, and you should be able to screen share. And you are muted at the moment. Nice.
Okay, here we go. So hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for having me. As we were kind of talking about earlier, I myself am new to this space. I am, and here we'll skip to the intro slide. I'm Aisha. I am a senior developer relations engineer at New Relic, and part of that role is that I'm just in communities. I am not so much here to sell you on New Relic as I am to say, hey, this is what I know. And if you're interested in learning more, I can point you in the right direction. And that's kind of my whole job. I stream a lot as part of a team called the Relicans, and we just kind of get on Twitch and we learn things and we talk to people. That's our role basically. And it all sort of ties back to New Relic, and it's very much empowered by New Relic. But all of that to say, this is meant to be a sort of high level, this is what observability is, and to give you sort of an introduction and to hopefully give you some sort of inroads for additional learning so that you can potentially take that and provide value to whatever teams that you're on in the future. Awesome. Actually, I have a question of my own. Do you all have a preference for questions? Do we want to? I tend to be a little conversational, but I know that you release these afterwards. So if we want to hold things till the end, that's also totally fine.
We can do this however you want. I mean, if you want it to be a conversation, that's great.
Yeah, my preference is like workshops. I'm a very interactive kind of person. That's why I love the Twitch thing so much. So yeah, I have some questions for y'all that hopefully we can kind of talk about. So I'm guessing that y'all have searched for bugs in the past, and I am wondering, my first question is, how did you think of a bug, maybe the most recent bug that you ran into as you were coding? How did you find it?
So many console logs.
Yeah, I feel that. A lot of console logs. Anybody else?
Breakpoints.
Breakpoints.
Yeah, if I'm feeling fancy, I'll get into the debugger and step through my code, but a lot of times it's console logs. Yeah.
Yeah, earlier today I had a staging environment that kept crashing when I was running a particular command and it with out of memory errors, and so I used Datadog to profile to see like the CPU and the RAM what it was doing.
Okay, we're getting into some external tooling. We got Datadog. All right.
I used unit tests to find a bug.
What was that one?
Unit tests.
Unit tests. Imagine we're testing code. I love it. So we have all of these different tools at our disposal, right? And some of those are maybe a little more efficient than others. Some tools might help you to get ahead of those problems before they happen. But for a lot of us, the answer to how did you find the bug is, well, I console logged until it became apparent where I should look. So once you know where to look, that might come from your console logging. But if you're console logging, let's say, how do you do that in such a way that you're sort of indicating to yourself, like, oh, this is the direction I should go? How do you take that information and turn it into a direction?
Well, often you're narrowing down. You have a big idea of where it could be. You know what ballpark it's in, and then you have to narrow it down to what quarter of the ballpark, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so we're digging a little deeper. We have a sort of broad view of our application, and we're digging in. We're saying, okay, well, I know this much, and I'm pretty sure that this particular line is going to run. Okay, now I want to dig in deeper. How do I, what is the value of this at this point? Or, is this thing running?
Yeah. And it's assuming you can reproduce it at will as well, which may or may not be the case.
Absolutely. Assuming, and that brings me to my next question. It's as if we planned this. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. So what assumptions do you have to make when you're debugging this way? When you are trying to get at the root of a problem, a lot of the time you're sort of, we collectively, because I'm in that boat too. I'm in the console log club, which should totally be a t-shirt. When you're doing things this way, you are necessarily making some assumptions. You're guessing a lot of the time to figure out where these problems are. And you're also sort of assuming, like we said, like Colin said, that you know where to look, or that you can reproduce it. So then the question for me becomes, how could someone else solve the same kind of issue? So as you're console logging over the course of your career, you get better at console logging. Like you get to know, like, okay, I'm seeing this error. It's showing up when I do this. Maybe it has something to do with this process over here. And that can be pretty application specific, or it might be, specific to the stack you work in or what have you. But the point is that knowledge lives inside of you, and that's great for you. But what happens then if somebody else on the team is in the office tomorrow? How do you document that? How do they know, when the next time something like this crops up, how do they know where to look? And so these are kind of some of the questions that came to mind for me when I first started digging into observability as a whole and like what use it is to us. Because I very much joined New Relic in a sort of this sounds like a great opportunity to like learn and build communities and all of this, but I didn't know anything. So I did have some sort of preconceptions about what observability is. And so we're going to start with what observability is not. I feel like any sort of intro observability talk that you go to is probably going to do some version of this. But the first thing is that it's not the same thing as logging. So when we think about logging, we're talking about a series of sort of discrete things that happen, right? And we can get useful information from that, whether it's like a logging tool that we've instrumented, or if it's our manual console logging, like that can still be useful, but it's not giving us, that's not observability. It's not giving us a big picture or a deep picture. It's also not metrics. So we are tracking data over time, but hopefully the idea here is not for us to pick out specific things that we want to track and to use that as a gauge for the health of our system. And it's also not monitoring, kind of all in the same vein. But what we want to talk about is what observability is and why it's important. It's a measurement. So observability is the measure of how much information we can get from our systems from the outside, based purely on input and output, rather than digging into the application itself. So it's how much of your app can be observed from the outside. So our goal here is that we are grabbing all of this data, as much relevant data as we can, so that we're able to answer the unknown unknowns. And what I mean by that is that down the road, should something happen, we have an outage, or we notice that a particular request is happening really slowly, whatever it is, we have this pool of data that we can query and figure out what's going on. So how then do we actually do this? Now, you can always go to New Relic. That's like I said, though, I'm not here to sell you on New Relic. It's just literally the only thing I know how to use. So that's kind of where my head is at. But there are a number of different options that will do different sort of subsets of this work for you. And you should shop around, talk to your team if this is something that you want to pursue. And I think that doing a little bit of that research ahead of time is gonna help with those conversations. You can spike things out as developers, and that's actually the question I should have led with, is like where are people at in their application teams? Are we mostly developers? That was my assumption, but if I'm wrong, please let me know now.
Yeah, most of this group, there are some working professional developers here, and then some people who are early career and trying to break in. So, but I think it's all developers as far as I know, of the people I recognize anyway.
Sweet, wonderful. So that means that most of these factors to consider are going to hopefully be relevant to you all. So these are the things that I think about when comparing vendors in general, but also specifically when we're talking about observability. And these are all things that I personally think that New Relic does well, though of course, as I said, That's my realm. So your first question is probably going to be, how much does it cost? Some of this kind of tooling can get really expensive. It just depends on your usage. So what I recommend for a developer who is very new to this is grab a side project. The way that I did this was I took a Gatsby site that I made for a conference that I run, and I hooked it up to New Relic using the Gatsby New Relic plugin, and I tried it out. You can do that for free. I think it goes up to, this is a snippet that I should know, but you can get a useful amount of data for a small project for free, and figure out kind of how you feel about the interface. So the next question then is, for me, is how easy is it to instrument? So how easy is it for you to actually incorporate this tool into your workflow? Now, you might have also heard of like Honeycomb, and as well as New Relic. How easy is it for you to build this in? And that might be something like using a Gatsby plugin, which is, you know, a matter of a couple of files. It might be something more involved, and maybe that ease of use is going to depend on your own system. How complicated is your application? The third question is, how flexible or extensible is it? So once you've implemented it, once you've instrumented this thing, once you've connected it to your application, how easy is it for you to change the view of your data? How easy is it for you to add tags or to access different parts of your application? How easy is it for you to extend the UI and update your views? One of the things that I just learned about the other day is actually your ability to create your own little New Relic applications. They're literally called nerdlets, which I enjoy deeply, which can extend the New Relic One interface. So, for example, you might create your own map that shows usage data of your e-commerce application, as an example. And you can do that using React, which is handy if you're a JavaScript developer who knows React. So that leads into how usable is the interface. So being able to customize it is great, but how usable is it out of the box? Think here about who is going to actually be using that interface. If it's not going to be you as the developer, then that's a conversation that you need to have with whoever on your team is really going to be the one who's digging through the logs and the metrics and the whole platform to figure out what's going on a day-to-day basis. So that's...
Are we assuming that we're in an internet environment debugging apps on different servers, or are you talking about something that could be used on embedded systems and robots, or are you already in a specific space with New Relic, or you're talking general?
This is general. So so the interface that I'm talking about would be the in my head, I'm absolutely imagining the New Relic interface, which you would go to the New Relic app. But you could use this to observe any system that you were able to connect to New Relic.
General observability.
Mm-hmm.
But New Relic, is that specifically for distributed web apps?
Oh, no.
Or what is New Relic? Oh, New Web is general enough for any situation, not just like embedded systems.
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay.
Talking about the usability of the interface, though. So thinking about who on your team is actually going to be in there working on the interface. And that might be you as a developer. That might be your DevOps team. That might even be, depending on what they're looking at, you know, you might have somebody from marketing who's going in there to look at stuff. It really depends on your team and your usage. But that's, again, that's why that interface is so important. And then all of the key points here boil down to how much context can you get? How deep can you go? How easy is it to sort of connect the dots and figure out those unknown unknowns when you're trying to nail down a problem. So we're at about 30 minutes. So a couple of things that I wanted to share with y'all. These are a handful of resources. First and foremost is our New Relic channel on Twitch. That's, like I said, kind of where my head is at. But the New Relic channel is where we are going to share a wide range of things. But in particular, I want to point out that we do a nerd log series on the New Relic channel. That is where you can get like snippets of news about what we're doing as a developer relations team, as well as what's happening at New Relic. My own Twitch channel is Aisha Codes. You're welcome to reach out there, though that is less observability specific. And then primarily, if you want to learn more about using New Relic as a service as a developer, developer.newrelic.com is going to be where you want to go. So we have some time, and I wanted to open it up to questions one more time. And then, yeah, I am also happy to kind of show you around the interface, though, of course. Oh, actually, there is one more that I did not include here, but another member of our New Relic team our New Relic developer relations team who's been around a little bit longer. Her name is Nika, and does some really fantastic demos. So that's, again, more general DevOps learning, as well as New Relic specific content. And I will share that link with y'all in just a moment.
Cool. There are a couple questions in the chat. One thing that I was wondering is, there's like, I think of a tool like New Relic as really useful to DevOps folks. And I think it was Will said that they're actually a DevOps person. But there's also like I think there's utility for application developers too, right? Like, so my understanding of observability, like the managers to, like, 30,000 foot view, is that it's really about kind of understanding, like, what does your app look like when it's healthy, right? Like, what does it do? And then you can start to spot like when it's not healthy and stuff. But like, you kind of want to know, like, what's the data that's flying around, like those kinds of things when it's working correctly. So how is that, like, do you have a good sense of like how is that different for a DevOps person versus an application developer? Like, how would they use the tool sort of, differently or something?
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, that, again, I'm coming at this from the perspective of a developer, but like that rings true to me kind of either way. Like, you want to know, like, you want to know what's unusual for your application. Mm-hmm. So, because that can kind of serve as a means of I'm thinking of like process of elimination is the term I'm going for.
Mhm.
So you say, okay, this request, when it hits the server, oh, it usually takes the X amount of time. Great. That's probably not our issue. Oh, let's see. If we look at it in this other place, like, oh, okay, now we see a change. Maybe we look deeper in that direction.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, right. I
So-
see. So,
Go ahead.
well, because one of the questions in the chat was about microservice architecture. So, and Colin, you actually brought up distributed bugs, right? So,
Yeah.
I feel like that's where a tool like this really is handy, because you can step through a single application and see exactly the state of it at all times. But when it's a bunch of different services all talking to each other, that's where it's like really hard. Like the bug may not be in the part of it that you even know about, right? So
Yeah. And if you, so I'm looking through the chat now. So this is there's so much discourse about like how to do this well with for microservice architectures.
Mhm.
And my impression, at least, is that no one has got it like exactly right. But as much as you have control over, and as much as within an organization you can identify those relationships, the better.
So in a sense, it's like the console log in that you can put the console log in the wrong places and it's not useful, but if you're good at just knowing where to put them, then you'll get it quicker. So the same with where you tap into with your observability, only instead of doing console log, you're getting nifty visualizations and whatnot, but you still have to pick the right place to do it and set it up.
Yeah, and you'll get some of those things, depending on the tooling and everything, you'll get some things out of the box. You say, okay, go and look at this. And you can, in some cases, like with New Relic, you can gather up data from a lot of different sources. If you're already using some kind of monitoring tooling. But yes, absolutely. The way that you build might even change depending on, or in order to make this easier, I heard Christine from Honeycomb say this, that it is important to remember that it's very much an iterative process. So like, maybe you realize like, oh, these things that we were looking at, those aren't as useful as we thought they would be. We actually want to be looking over here, and tracking the length of time that it takes, or maybe we're tracking something like the amount of money left over in abandoned carts, something like that. Or maybe it's how many, I don't know, it could be anything. You get really, 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 really granular. It's wild. But it's meant to be this process that is evolving with your teams and your applications.
Yeah. Yeah, Lenny had a good question in the chat, which is it something that you pretty much need to use a third-party tool for, or you can is there some level of it that you can build yourself? Or?
That is a good question. My I mean, in theory, yes, you could do this yourself. And I say that in the sense like that there's like one dude holding up like 70% of node applications. Like you could, but
you could also build WordPress yourself, right? Like you could.
Yeah, you could. But in practical terms, you probably don't want to, because you want to get to the application part. You want to get to the thing that you are actually going to build. If you're interested in building your own observability platform, that's really cool and you should pursue that. But that feels like its own thing.
I think the question is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the kind of depth that you're going for when you're talking about an observability platform, I think lends itself to absolutely getting some kind of third-party tool to do it for you.
I think the question is rooted in, it's not yet quite clear to me, like exactly what is being measured. Is it like metadata about the performance of your application?
It is metadata.
Like
Full stop.
memory usage and
like almost any. I'm maybe being a little hyperbolic, but it's almost anything that you can measure.
And I think I guess I was wondering if like for someone making a personal project like myself, like, I don't need to measure every single piece of metadata for a small project. It's not going to benefit me to know all of that information. But if I wanted to measure some of it, to build out a certain feature a certain way,
Yeah.
how complex is like the most simple aspect of observability?
Ooh, that's good. That's a good question. You're just full of them. Yeah. So how complex is the simplest? I think that you could definitely pare down the output that you get. So you can still, so I said something along the lines of like, instead of having a dashboard, but like you could pare it down to that. And you could say, I'm only paying attention to these things. And you can manipulate your interface to just show you those things that you are interested in. And then, down the line, if you say, hey, I wonder if my observability tool can do this, cool, then you add that to your dashboard or whatever it is. And you kind of keep it moving. Like that's what I mean by it's meant to be iterative. Like you can pick the parts you want.
Okay.
Can you give, oh, Mindy, go ahead.
I can also add there is, I know with New Relic, there's like a 5-minute out of the box, like you can add it to your project and get a lot of stuff just right from the get-go. Like you can get how the throughput, which is like how much traffic is coming through in the particular pieces of your system. You can get like tracing in different places that are already automatically there, JavaScript errors that are there. Like you can dig into stack traces. Like it's actually pretty crazy how much you get from like 5 minutes of getting it set up with your application. So like, I don't know, as far as like the smallest amount to observability is a weird thing anyway, because observability is like a measurement tool. So like you can't really like get observability, I feel like it's, you can make steps towards observability.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're able to observe X amount of all of the data.
It reminds me of like a map. A map is always a representation of a place. And the more detailed the map is, eventually it's the place, right? Like if you want to have complete observability, or basically it is the application or something, right? I see Sahil, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I guess maybe to ask a similar question in a different way. I guess what I'm trying to understand is, like when a lot of us are kind of junior and still learning, and we largely build toy apps, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm trying to understand is this capability that New Relic tries to develop, is it much more relevant to scale, or like if you try to add observability to like, you know, your standard, you know, sort of CRUD app that you learn in boot camps and whatnot, is it like, is it kind of absurd to do that, or is this really a tool for large, you know, you know, like widely deployed scalable applications?
That is a great question. And I had that same question when we were like, could you do like maybe an observability talk? And what I'll say is that those sort of larger like corporations with huge scaled up applications rely more on something like New Relic. But I also wouldn't say that it's absurd to add something like this to an app that you're just building on the side. And I say that, no, it's all good. I say that because I think that building your applications in such a way that it's easier to implement tooling like this, and thinking more critically about how to actually work through outages and bugs and all of those things. I think that's a really good learning tool, even if you're not in a place where it's like strictly necessary yet. Because that way then you kind of have an idea of the capability of the tools, even if you've not used all of it, you know, even if you're you know, using this on your CRUD app, as long as it's deployed somewhere, like you can start using it, and you can start learning things about your application.
Yeah, you could. I mean, so maybe it'd be helpful to make it a little concrete and say, so like with New Relic as an example, could you say like watch all the traffic on this port, or like at this particular point, like just log this particular variable that's in memory, like you could kind of anything in between, right? Like you can just kind of like set it loose, but or say I want these particular things. Totally. So for like a simple CRUD app, maybe you know you just want to understand the the life cycle of a request or something, and you have monitoring that kind of, or not monitoring, observability that kind of gives you insight into what does that look like, and when it's when it's in a 200 state or a 404 state or 500 state, like so you can see what the differences are.
I could actually even give another example that's not with New Relic. It was with Google and Google Cloud Platform. I created an app where it was a survey for an old company. They wanted a survey, a form application, so they could get information about how they were doing with their customers, their clients. And one of the people that I was working for wanted to have some statistics and some data on like how many people open the survey and how many actually complete it, and kind of some information around that. Like you can use tools like New Relic and some of the Google Cloud stuff too, to instrument that and to get information out of how your app is being used, which is pretty interesting. So it doesn't actually have to, like, it doesn't all have to do with like the health of your app necessarily. Mm-hmm. It can go much deeper there, like different facets as well.
I think that's one of the confusing things about observability for me anyway, is that there's analytics and there's monitoring and there's alerting and there's like all these different things that all, and observability, they're all kind of related, like stuff ends up on a dashboard. I don't know. But like how is like observability, I guess I haven't really seen it in action. Like maybe could you demo it for us? Like just show us, like, is there an app that you could just kind of show us what it looks like to
let me, I'm on my gaming computer, so it's gonna take me a second but yes, I can. Here, and I'm gonna stop sharing for now. Yeah. I should have joined on my work computer.
What games do you play? Lenny, you saw Steam was open?
Yeah.
What games do you play, Aisha?
So many games. Oh my God. I have a very, very long list that
Yeah.
So what did you say?
Well, I do too, but I seem to always go back to Overwatch.
See, at least there's some consistency there. I recently I played a bunch of the games that were featured in the Steam game. Was it just the Steam Game Festival? And that like set off a whole other tangent into like different sort of spinning off in different directions, like in different genres based on the games that I liked from the festival. It was the whole thing.
Nice.
I recently started playing one called Pumpkin Days, which is like based on, it's like a love letter to things like Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley, and it's so cute. But then like also,
I used to work in games, so observability would be super helpful in the gaming world.
Yeah, I actually don't.
These companies must use.
Are you doing behavioral studies of the players, or are you fixing a bug in the game, or either any of the above, right?
Maybe both. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it'd be good for both.
I'm so sorry, y'all. We use Okta to sign into things, which is why I'm having issues.
No worries.
Signing in on a new machine. Actually, you know what? Let's do this.
I mean, what would you say? What makes observability different from analytics or traceability is that it's more in real time, as opposed to like you could still recreate what happened after the fact if you have your data right and tools that can go through it. But observability is you're kind of seeing it as it's happening.
You are kind of seeing it as it's happening.
So it's less of an autopsy and more of a biopsy or something.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay. So I don't want to have y'all sit here and watch me try to figure out how to log into Okta from my personal computer. So what I did was I just spun up a new account.
Oh, nice.
So you can see like what it looks like when you log in. I literally did it as we were sitting here. you and we can take a little tour. We can take a little tour together. All right, here we are. Let me know if that is too small
like it's
or
working.
large.
Yeah, it looks good.
All right, we have too many messages here. Okay, here we go. Actually, I didn't even know. There's a lot in here. I continue to learn things. You can share a permalink. So when you are, so the way this works is that you can add applications, dashboards, and this was pretty recently, like last year, pulled in from a number of different interfaces, so that you're kind of getting more all in one, hence the name. So we were talking a little bit about the browser. So the way that works is that you can add, this is all, so what you can do is say, hey, I'm already using, this tool to get XYZ information from my application. You can integrate with those things. So like, you can integrate with your analytics or your logging or what have you. And then you're gonna get code from New Relic that you can input into your application. So similar to other things like a Google Analytics or a Firebase or something like that. So the way that looks is like here you're choosing like different monitoring systems, like if you're already using Azure or Kubernetes or something like that, you can connect those services here. That's all in there. The example I gave earlier was Gatsby, and that's like a custom thing. So you come up here. To New Relic Browser. And you would grab, so you choose copy paste JavaScript. It's going to give you some JavaScript to paste into your app. Though in my Gatsby example, you're taking a small part of this and you're inputting it into a plugin. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar. I just use Gatsby because that was my last employer previous, prior to New Relic. So you go through this little wizard. It's going to give you your code, and you can pop that in there. In your Explorer, this is where you're looking through any data. There's no data here to look through because I just made this account minutes ago. But this would be where you kind of dig through your data. You can browse events, metrics, logs, traces, and then you can look at your dashboards as well. And so these are all extensible. You can kind of, the word I'm looking for is construct. We'll go with construct. But you can tell New Relic, like, these are the things I care about. Please put them in my dashboards so that I can return to them later. Yeah. So that is, that's the very small portion of what this looks like. And I am, yeah. This is like a sample of what you might see if you were looking at an application. So we've got latency by HTTP request method, which I think someone used in an example earlier. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be interested to see the JavaScript snippet. It looked like you might have copied it through pasteboard, the JavaScript agent code.
Yeah, let's go back.
Probably won't matter too much, but I think it does have a license key in it.
It does. It does have a license key in it, and it truly, it's all good. I trust you.
Do you trust YouTube though?
It's okay. I just will never make this application. So you want to go back to add more data. And then in here, you're looking at New Relic Browser. And yeah, it's a lot, but you choose copy and paste versus in this example versus enable New Relic APM, which is also an option. You kind of choose, oh, do you want distributed tracing? All of that. Name. We'll call this.
Never used this app or something like that.
Collab demo. Yay. Cool. And then you instrument using this script tag, and it's just a huge collection of things. And
I guess it's all minified and everything, right?
Yeah, it's all minified. But at the very end is where you get your variables. So like if in our Gatsby example, you're going to scroll to the very end and you're going to grab stuff out of here.
So what do you use that for? So like the application ID or something, you would, when you're instrumenting in certain places, you would need to tell it which application you're talking about. Is that right?
So yeah, these are like your configuration variables. So you got your account ID, key, application ID. So like this is just how it is identifying the application that it's getting this data from.
Okay, right. How come it's in there twice?
Which thing?
Oh, I see. There's loader config and there's info, and they just have a lot of the same information in them.
Yeah. Different environments.
Okay. All right. Cool. Mindy, what do you do at New Relic?
Yeah, I'm a software engineer on the engineering operations team. So we are building internal tools for making reliability observable. Good old jargon tools there, or names there. But for the rest of the product org.
I love it. So what I'm hearing is that you could have given this talk. It's all good.
It's always great to hear it from different perspectives, and yeah, that was fun. It was good.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Aisha.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a lot of fun, and it sort of forced me to like articulate some of the things, and I'm like, oh, I heard you can do this with New Relic.
Nice.
Oh.
Great. Well, appreciate your time. Oh, Rachel, do you want to say something?
Sorry, I was just going to say thank you so much. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for your time, and thanks everybody for attending. And yeah, this was good. It pushed me a little bit past my manager's understanding of observability, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all so much. I had fun,
thank you.
and thank you for like participating. I appreciate it.
Good discussion. Great questions in the chat and everything. So we'll post a link to the video soon, either tonight or tomorrow. And there'll be closed captions along with it and everything. So yeah, watch the meetup page for that. But thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.
Perfect. Have a good night.
All right,
Thanks
take care.
again. Good night.